Betway sponsors FROCH versus Groves 2 on Sky Sports.
This is Coogan Cassius for IFL TV in association with Betway. With me I've got promoter Eddie Hearn. How are you, Eddie?
Very well, thank you. Tired, a little bit tired. I was a bit, not down today, but like earlier on this morning I was sort of a bit grizzly.
Was that after a night out?
No, I just think it's like the realisation that it's all done, you know, everything we've been working on and obviously the team as well here for the last, 16 weeks, you know, is over. But then, you know, straight back into things and looking forward to Glasgow on the 27th of June.
When you got up on Sunday morning from your pick, because I see you come on Sky Sports News and you look like you'd had a night, did it just hit you at some point to think, what do we do now?
No, I haven't thought of that. People said to me before, and people are saying to me now, oh, how are you going to top that? What's next? But, you know, we've just got plans and we just go to work every day and just keep doing what we're doing. We've been very successful, got a great team at Matchroom. We've got plans for the next 6-8 months, even beyond. So, you know, I appreciate that not every show is going to be like that. And I don't know if we'll ever get 80,000 at Wembley again, but there's some huge nights out there and some great fights, so just sort of crack on with doing that really. After the fight, we just went back to Hilton and stuck having beers till 4, and I woke up at about 10 to 11. I think it's the latest I've woke up in about 3 or 4 years, 5 years. That was nice. And then they called me and said, come downstairs and do an interview. Literally put my gear on, didn't even have a shower and done an interview. And I got a lot of stick for looking like a homeless man. But no, I don't really look at it and say how, you know, you just go again, don't you? You try and find a way to do something as big or if not bigger. Might happen, might not, but you'll always have that night. And it's only really, you know, on the night you're sort of running around, don't get a chance to take it all in. But it's only watching it back and looking at people's pictures on Twitter and, you know, the things that people are saying. That was the best night of my life. You know, that was the first boxing show I've ever been to. When's the next one? Can't wait. You know, these are the sort of things that as a promoter make you think, wow, you know, for people to say that was the best night of my life, and I must have had a couple of hundred of them. That is really rewarding because I always want to put a smile on people's face, and I want them to leave any venue thinking that was a great night. But to say, you know, to say it with such passion about the night, you know, is very rewarding.
Just to recap from the week, obviously last week started this time last week in Nottingham with FROCH's workout, with the Groves workout the day after.
Years ago,
like that, a long time ago. Undercard press conference Wednesday. The final press conference where kind of people we spoke about this before, expecting big fireworks and, you know, nothing really happened, and at the weigh-in there was a little bit of involving the security rather. And then come Saturday, obviously the rest of the week and all the build-up was irrelevant because what happened in the ring, we always knew that that's what people would be talking about. So from Carl FROCH's perspective, a lot of people were saying...
Where are you going with this question? Because, I mean, you're really struggling to deliver it, aren't you?
Oh, sorry.
No, but you was like, go on, where are you going with it? Right. From Carl FROCH's perspective.
From Carl FROCH's perspective.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Oh. Right.
Can I finish my
From Carl FROCH's perspective.
From Carl FROCH's perspective, the night couldn't have gone any better.
The night couldn't have gone better for all of us. You know, I mean, as our team. Because obviously FROCH's performance, Mitchell was out of the fight, in my opinion, come back, somehow found a way to win. McDonald won a world title, Joshua looked great, the Gale was fantastic. Everyone loved it. It was perfect. It was a perfect night, you know. And I'm so pleased for Carl. And, you know, talking about the build-up, I think what happened on fight week was they both realised, shit, we're in a monster here, and we're just going to keep our energy on that. And I think they were. I mean, I can't speak for George because I wasn't in his change rooms, and I wasn't around him. You've had a stinker, haven't you? Who's that? Go on, show me.
Sorry.
So, Carl was very nervous, really nervous. I went to his apartment in the day we had a really good chat, was trying to get him on it and switched on, and he was really nervous, and I guess George was too. You know, the stuff at the weigh-in, George had like 15 security, and they were just panicking that something was going to happen and he was going to touch it, and it was just so OTT. And the people that were the calmest were George and Carl. When all these securities were kicking off on the stage, they were going, what's going on here? They were never going to, you know, but anyway, that's history now. So, but the whole night, the event, couldn't have gone any better.
The point I was trying to make was the whole build.
Yeah, go on. What was that point?
The whole build up has played into Carl's hands at the end of the day, because there was a lot of talk of the psychological stuff, the mind games and
experience. I just think he used his experience. He wasn't going to let what happened last time happen again. It's very difficult in a rematch. When you know what to expect, you can handle it a lot better, and you can put measures up to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And he didn't let George get in his head. But he was so focused for that fight, George was never going to get in his head anyway. I don't think there's anything George could have done that night to beat Carl FROCH, because, you know, ultimately he was just, you know, he was too good, firstly, and he was too determined, and he was just, you know, he just used the experience and he got the job done.
Leading into the 8th round, it seems quite level. A lot of people sort of had FROCH up a round or so, but it was close leading into the 8th. What did you think going into the 8th round was going to unfold into the next?
I thought it was really
rounds?
close. I mean, I felt that FROCH was up only by a round or two tops. I actually thought one judge had Groves up by 1 round. He had him up by 3 rounds. It's outrageous to have Groves up by 3 rounds in that fight. I mean, everything's subjective, and it depends what you like. If you like someone who's boxing and moving and trying to nick it, then you're going to think George was up. But if you like someone who's forcing the fight and throwing a lot more punches, and then you go for FROCH. I think most people had FROCH up slightly. But at that point I was really confident. I thought Carl was going to wear him down. I didn't see a stoppage like that coming. I don't think many did. I thought he'd just pressure and stop him late on. But I did want him to push the pace a little bit, because, you know, we were getting 8th round, you know, but George was tiring, and there's just a couple of things that happened, and I think Carl tried to hit him on the break, and George sort of went to the ref and looked at his corner, and I thought maybe this is turn now, and Carl was hitting him with some great body shots as well. But it was really, really close, but I was confident. Once we got the early rounds out of the way, it was definitely number 1, I was very confident that Carl was going to do the business.
Options going forward. It was a lot of, not mixed messages, but there was a lot of options mentioned after the fight in relation to Carl's next potential fight. So I'll run through them with you, and you tell me the possibilities. Mikkel Kessler obviously was at ringside and openly stated that, you know, he wants to fight the winner of these two, but where is he in the pecking order?
He's right up there. I mean, look, everybody loved Kessler, FROCH Kessler 1, everyone loved FROCH Kessler 2, and a lot of people want to see FROCH Kessler 3, the decider. You know, the whole thing is a numbers game, really, and Carl FROCH will only fight again if it's a fight that gets him motivated, and if it's a fight where the numbers make sense. He's done everything in his career. And, you know, people keep saying to me, is he going to retire? I don't know. I would say no, but if I can't produce an opportunity for him that makes him get out of bed and do those hill runs in the morning, and also shows him another big paycheck, then maybe he won't fight again. So I don't know that Kessler in November, December provides that paycheck, and if it doesn't, then he, you know, and if there's no other options then maybe he won't fight him this year. Maybe he'll just wait till next spring, next summer. You know, it's so early to even look at options at the moment. That's my job, really. In Carl FROCH's mind now, it's job done. I'm going to go and chill out with the family, relax, and, you know, just see what Eddie comes up with. And it'll be my job over the next month to come up with those opportunities. And Mikkel Kessler is right up there as one of them.
Sakir Bika, the WBC super middleweight champion, was there all week pretty much, and he came into the press conference and he put his belt on the table, etc., etc.
Cringe that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, FROCH Beaker as an appealing wise doesn't really appeal to the mass audience, does it?
No. I mean, look, Beaker's done fantastically well. He's got the WBC title. At this stage for Carl, it's not really about belts. You know, if we were looking at 4, 5, 6 years ago in Carl's career, Carl's go and win all the belts, but he's won the WBC title twice. You know, and the Beaker fight from a financial perspective isn't really up there. From a demand perspective, especially amongst casuals, isn't really up there either. So the Beaker fight is not really on the radar.
Okay. Andre Ward.
Not really, because, and it's nothing to do with the fact that he's very good, and he is, and it's a really tough fight for Carl Froch. There is the incentive to avenge the defeat, but, you know, from a financial perspective, Ward, I know I'm going to get criticism for this, because a couple of people had a pop at me at what I said on the stage. Ward's not a draw. You know, for that fight to be worth the money, it would have to be pay-per-view in America, and it's not. So what am I going to do? You know, Ward's going to want too much money for that fight. He's not a draw. It's not a really entertaining fight because stylistically, he's not that exciting. But the reason for that fight is to try and avenge the defeat, which I know Carl want to do, but it's not on the radar for the next one.
Okay, and finally, he's mandatory as it stands today. James DeGale. James DeGale said in the post-fight press conference that he's done his part. Now it's down to you.
Yeah, and James DeGale will get a world title shot next. That is my job, and I'll deliver that. I'm seeing him on Wednesday. I can't tell you whether that'll be Carl Froch or not. That's up to him.
As in Carl Froch?
Yeah, it's not up to James DeGale. But I think that it's definitely a realistic option. I mean, again, it's too raw to know, but you know, I would think if Carl's going to fight again, it will be Chavez, Kessler, or DeGale. That's what I think. He talks about a Vegas fight. That's definitely up there on what he wants to do. That's you. Why don't you just turn it on?
I am now.
Right. So I'm seeing James on Wednesday, and you know, the idea is to deliver him a world title shot next. If Carl wanted to go to speak to the IBF, he's done 2 back-to-back mandatories. I would guess they might let him have a voluntary if we ask for an exemption. But again, at this stage, the belts, you know, they're not as important. No disrespect to the governing bodies, but so, you know, maybe DeGale wins a world title with an agreement that they'll fight again at Wembley in the summer. I don't know. There's so many different scenarios, you know, of what could happen.
Is there a possibility you could take James DeGale off the IBF route?
Only if there was an agreement that he would fight. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, things that are in my mind at the moment, and that will be discussed with him on Wednesday. Carl's also a WBA champion, don't forget.
The chances of Carl vacating either belt?
It's not something he likes to do, but at this stage in his career, in order to get the right fights that he wants, it is something that he'll probably have to consider.
With regards to Vegas, is Chavez Jr. the only option for Vegas?
Yeah, probably. Well, Ward, but again, I don't think, you know, it needs to be a dual pay-per-view. What I mean by that is HBO pay-per-view and Sky Box Office pay-per-view. People have already emailed me about Kessler against Froch in Vegas, but the problem is you wouldn't get the crowd or the site fee that you'd get for a Chavez fight. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're going to do the Kessler Froch fight, you do it over here or Denmark or wherever where it's going to sell. It's going to create a big gate. I don't think it would create a gate big enough or the demand big enough in Vegas for a fight between a Brit and a Scandinavian.
Hypothetically, just say Froch was to vacate the IBF, what's the chances of DeGale and Groves fighting for the vacant IBF?
George is coming off 2 stoppage defeats. The IBF don't let you fight for a title when you're coming off a stoppage defeat. They don't even like you fighting for a title coming off any defeat. So he needs to go away and build himself again. Listen, we know Groves is a brilliant fighter. I'm sure he'll win world titles, but you know, he'll have to come back now. I'm guessing he'd have a 10 rounder or a 12 round, like intercontinental, you know, eliminator or whatever on a Sauerland show, probably in now June, July, like October, something like that. I would say more realistically, Groves' world title shot will come in 2015, and you know, you don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to be champion then? And he's not my business, so it's not really up for me. But I'm sure Calla and Nisse and the Sauerlands will carve him out another shot, but he'll have to rebuild first. But you know, he's a quality fighter.
Kevin Mitchell, obviously, we know the situation about him failing to check weight on the day of the fight, but he was in a tough fight. It looked like at one point that, you know, he might lose that fight. He'd come back strong in the later rounds and won the fight. Where are we with him as regards to Vasquez?
Well, we're speaking to the IBF. I mean, the rules. You know, Kevin. I feel sorry for Kevin in a way because he trained so hard for this fight. He's got a reputation for being a bit of a, you know, messer, which since we've looked after him, he hasn't been at all. He's worked so hard, and you saw how fit he was in that fight. That was a tough fight. Maduma was quality, and basically he's had these IBF fights before. For people who don't know, you can't be more than 10 pounds over the limit on the morning after the weigh-in. So his last IBF title fight, I think he was £6 over, and the one before he was £7 over. So he's gone away and he's done exactly the same thing, eating the same kind of food, but he hasn't checked his weight. He's just got on the scales. I mean, it's like a schoolboy error, just expecting to be £6-7 pounds over, and he's £1.5 over. He's 11.5 pounds over the limit. And the IBF rules are that they give you 2 hours to lose that weight, but the British Boxing Board of Control rules are you can't lose any weight on the day of the fight. So there was a bit of a, you know, I mean, I feel we've got half a case with the IBF, but listen, cut a long story short, I've already spoken to Vasquez, who is up for the fight regardless. It will just mean Kevin's voluntary, so the terms for him won't be quite as lucrative, mainly in terms of options, as it would have been if he was mandatory. But tough shit, that's his mistake. But I expect him to fight Vasquez in October in London. Okay.
Jamie McDonald won the WBA bantamweight title against a tough opponent in Naratchawat. What's the deal now with Jamie to try and he wants unification?
Yeah, we've got an obligation with the WBA would like us to fight Kameda, which is financially a big fight for Jamie in Japan. But of course, the unification fight against the winner of Butler Hall, which is in Saturday.
This Saturday. Yeah.
And that's a great fight. Another big domestic fight. I'm sure Butler or McDonald Hall would be up for that. But you know, I'm looking for big paydays for Jamie now. You know, he was unlucky last year, had a bad time. He's come back, got 2 wins. Now he's won a title. You know, he's British, Commonwealth, European, and 2-time champion of the world. You know, I mean, he deserves some credit. So really, we want some big paydays for Jamie McDonald. He's just gone to Mexico. He's getting married, and then he'll come back and we'll plan a fight for the new season.
He doesn't seem too optimistic that a unification fight with the winner of Butler.
No, listen, there's a lot of politics, isn't there? I mean, we're ready for the fight, and you know, we've got the best platform, and I think everyone knows what we're doing in boxing right now, and everyone knows that the big shows are where we're at. So hopefully the fighters will do what they can to make sure they get what they deserve.
Anthony Joshua kicked off the night at Wembley with a 83-second win over Matt Legg.
Didn't seem that quick, did it?
No.
Because Legg came out firing, your mate.
Yeah.
Didn't know you'd known Matt Legg for 10 years.
Yeah.
But he had a go. AJ with a couple of decent shots, but ultimately it's the same old story, isn't it? You get hit on the chin by Anthony Joshua and it's over. So after about 60 seconds of that fight, I was thinking, this is alright. Good on you, Matt Legg. Hopefully they'll get a couple of rounds in. Boom, uppercut, done. So, you know, and again, some people know, some people don't. AJ had a restricted camp for that because he's coming back a little bit later than we wanted from injury. And now we look to step him up against Skelton on July 12th.
That'll be interesting. Seasoned.
Well, I think he'd give him some rounds. We need to find someone that's going to give Joshua rounds. You know, and we've chosen some durable fighters so far. I'm not saying that was Matt Legg, but we have chosen some, and he's knocked them all out in a round. So we've got to find someone that's going to give more.
Give him rounds. You sent a tweet out yesterday with 3 fights on it. Probably a wish list of yours to make. Cleverly Bellew, which is a very realistic possibility for the end of this year. Quick Frampton, Calm Brook. Do you really think them latter fights can really be made? Speaking honestly.
Well, Kel's fighting Sean Porter, and we'll close that off in the next 24 hours. Bellew will fight Cleverly if they both come through on July the 12th. And I believe Frampton will fight Quick. I do.
Kell Brook, Sean Porter, is something developed recently?
Yeah, we're very close now. We emailed the IBF, myself and Golden Boy, last night to say purse bids are due tomorrow. So we emailed them to ask for a 48-day extension because we're about to agree terms. So that will be made public probably middle of the week.
Okay, and when are you looking to put this fight on?
August.
August. Obviously in America.
More than likely, yeah. I mean, we've done all we can to try and get it here, and it's just not of interest to Porter. Can go to first bids, but at 75-25 we're in a tough spot. We're at a position now where we're getting to a stage where we're nearly happy, and Kel's training so hard and he's ready to go. So, you know, we're looking at dates in early August.
Potential places?
New York. But again, you know, if we do go down that route, it'll be a Golden Boy show. So I'll let them do the announcements. And
would it be a show on its own for Kell Brook?
No. There's talk. It's a great show. There's talks of some great fights on there. So.
Okay.
I don't want to. You
know,
know,
okay, that's
I know the fights, but
yeah, that's
to come out and start announcing other people's fights wouldn't be the best.
It wouldn't be. Alright, well, just a bit of catch up. It's a nice t-shirt.
Thank you.
Is that who you are?
I'm very casual today, and Sky Sports phoned me up saying want to come and do an interview. So I'm not sure how that's going to go.
When will you find out the numbers that done over the weekend?
Well, we know already. We've got an indication. You don't know for sure till we get our first statement from Sky. But I've got an indication of the numbers. You know, they're not made public, but they're as you would have imagined. So we're very.
What you hoped for is it?
It's better than what I hope. You know, well, you know, listen. There's a bracket of what you hope for, a low and a high point, and it's. You know, when I first made the fight, I had numbers that I expected to do, and it's much better than that. But when the fight was getting bigger and bigger, I expected to do what it had done anyway. But it's great.
Okay. Do you have an exact crowd from Saturday as well?
No, 70. I think it was 78 something. For all those people that thought we'd only done 35,000 tickets, or the touts had bought them all. And let me tell you something as well. Do you know how many tweets I got from people saying, "I can't believe it. I bought my ticket on one of these resale sites, and I've just had an email from them to say that they hadn't, you know, they were unable to locate the ticket." I mean, people got to realise. I understand touts bought tickets. That's what they do for huge events. But when a resale site advertises for a ticket, they don't necessarily have it. You know, and I bumped in. I won't tell you the name of the person, but I bumped into a fighter who also works on, let's say, ticket sales outside of high-profile events, and I saw him outside the hotel, and I said, "What's the situation? What's floating about?" He went, "Absolutely nothing." So, as always, touts will always try and get their hands on tickets for big events, but these tickets were mainly bought by fans, and you know, from all the tweets I'm seeing now, all the pics, it's so good to see. I didn't retweet everyone, but I did retweet quite a few. But people get the ump, don't they? It's timeline. But
so as a whole, everything went swimmingly.
There wasn't, you know,
nothing went.
The only one issue, and it wasn't even an issue, is that when the walk-ins came on, Sky wanted everything to be totally pitch black for the pyrotechnics and lasers, so the screens didn't show the walk-in.
Right, yes.
And I think, if looking back, that's probably something that, in hindsight, they should have done, or or we should have had a chat with them to do. But other than that, everything. All the feedback I'm getting is positive. Transportation. I didn't see any trouble in the crowd. Did you? I mean, which is for 80,000. You'd expect
something.
And the thing is that I've seen some pictures from people who are sitting 2 rows from the back.
Still looks good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously weren't the easiest to see the ring from up there, but obviously you had the screens. But also, I got the feeling it was more about the event and being there and the atmosphere. DJ Spoonie, a lot of people didn't know it was him, but I thought the music was great.
I didn't know it was him actually.
I thought the music was great.
Yeah.
A lot more current. But, and the ring walks and the lasers and the fire.
How did they get a bus in there?
Well, they didn't, did they? They just drove it to the sort of out the yard and they had to stop. But they wanted to do something different for Carl's walk on, but he's just. I said to him, look, George is coming out on an open top bus, and I went, do you want to do something? He went, no. And I said, well, what about your music? He went, you choose it. But in the end, I had to get him to agree. But I'm so pleased for him, because there was so much. You imagine if he would have lost everything he's done, he would have been remembered for that night, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he said that. His whole forget everything in his career. All comes
and that's what I said to him in his apartment on Saturday. I tried to heap the pressure on. I just said, everything you've done in your career, Pascal, when you stopped Taylor, you went to Finland and schooled Abraham, the Kessler rematch. I said, none of it, Boutte, none of it matters. You will be remembered for tonight. And he looked at me and went, that's out of all, isn't it? I went, yeah, it is, but that's the reality. And now, he's mega. I mean, the phone doesn't stop today. Talk shows, sponsorships, And he really deserves it, because he's a proper geezer, mate. Don't worry about that. And he's a tough son of a bitch. Tell you what, that was a beautiful knockout, wasn't it? Oof.
Perfect right hand from him. Alright, well listen, Eddie, thanks for talking to us. This will be the last video of the FROCH GROVES saga done. This will be, it's either 199 or 200, I'm not sure yet.
Is it?
A little recount, yeah.
What videos?
Videos this week.
And Betway are happy with your,
I haven't spoken to them actually.
No, I would imagine that. Have you done a great job?
Yeah, we targeted 100 videos, we've nearly doubled that. I'm talking our numbers now, not as big as your numbers, but our numbers. And they're decent.
Well, funnily enough, another sponsor who sponsors Matchroom shows has come on to us and said they'd like to get involved with IFL. Do you know that?
No.
No, I'll tell you about it. It's a true story.
It's a true story?
Yeah. So you're in demand.
Interesting. But
I think that all the other promoters that are watching, you should also try and make sure you link your sponsors from the shows in with IFL to give the sponsor additional exposure and additional value for money.
I'm not going to lie, this would help a lot. But Betway...
We're raising the bar. We used to just give you 500 quid a week. Now we're giving you big dough. So now the other promoters have got to follow suit. They followed suit when we started paying for you all the time. Now they're doing it, which is great. Now they've got to start finding you the sponsors.
Agree with everything you said, because just retract the 500 quid thing for the cynicals at home.
What's that? No, I don't do it anymore.
Can you just clarify you never did it?
Yeah, go on then, if it makes you happy.
So you haven't got a show on until the end of the month now.
Yeah.
Glasgow.
Yeah, June the 27th, Burns against Latigan, winning Limond against Woodhouse, Simmons against Camacho, Scotty Cardle, Brophy, etc. July the 12th, we're just working on now. Cleverly, Bellew, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, Joshua, big show at the Echo, and finalising that, and we'll announce. I hate giving days because when I don't do it on that day, I get grief. You said you were going to announce it on Wednesday, so I'll say Wednesday, Thursday or Friday this week we'll be making a full announcement about that card.
Okay. And also, just finally, Brian Rose has already left for America.
Yeah, he's out there. He checked in last night, spoke to him last night. He's in an apartment out there in New York, living the dream. And June the 14th, he boxes Andrade for the WBO world title. at the Barclays Centre. So I'll be going out there about a week today. So yeah, get ready.
Rodnikov is on the field as well.
Vodnikov, yeah.
Okay, so lots to look forward to. All right, Eddie, and thanks for talking to IFL TV.
Pleasure. Congratulations on a
epic.
successful week for you.
Yes, indeed. And congratulations on all the money you've made. It's not about that, I know.
So the fight is getting the money. I wish I made as much money as people think I made, but anyway, we didn't do bad.
This is Kugan Cassius with Eddie Hearn for IFL TV in association with Betway. Thank you very much.
Betway sponsors FROCH versus Groves 2 on Sky Sports.